Since 2015, Pop Health Podcast has brought to you some of the best minds in healthcare, including leaders from government, not-for-profit, and investor-backed powerhouses, as they share successes, failures, and how our audience can move forward in today's constantly evolving healthcare world. Thank you for joining us for today's episode presented by 24 Hour Home Care. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Pop Health Podcast in 2023. I'm Gavin Ward, host of Pop Health Podcast. In today's episode, we have the opportunity to sit down with Jonathan Westall, who's the Vice President for MLK Community Healthcare. But really, the goal of today's conversation is to learn about the American College of Healthcare Executives, where John has been a leader and is currently serving as well in the Southern California chapter. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, where John shares a little bit more about ACHE and how the experience has really helped him grow and connect with other leaders that he leans on regularly in his career. We also get a cool note on how John has a connection with a party bus company, which you probably didn't think about until you tuned into today's episode. We hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoyed today's show and want to check out other episodes, feel free to check us out on pophealthpodcast.com, our YouTube channel, or listening to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy today's episode. John, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for joining today.
I appreciate you guys having me back. It's good to see you after 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, man. Long time. So folks, for those of you that haven't been long time, listeners back then. So John first joined Pop Health Podcast, like he said, like 4 or 5 years ago. And he came to our headquarters in El Segundo, where we used to just do audio. And so I would set up, old school microphone stands and arms and spend 30 minutes plugging everything in. And so when I actually reached out, he actually thought that's what we were going to do. And what was cool, I learned during that time, is John just had baby number 4. Tell us really quickly about that, John.
Good. So 4th daughter. That was thought maybe a boy this time, but no. But that's it. We're done. 4 is enough. I'm out of car seats. I'm out of bedrooms. I'm out of everything. But no, so yeah, we baby number 4, all good, all healthy. Mom's out. Have an 11-year-old, a 6-year-old, 13-month-old, and now a newborn. So the 11-year-old is a bit of help sometimes, though. She enjoys playing with the baby, and we're not quite at a babysitter yet, but she's getting there.
That is awesome, man. That's great to hear. And what's cool about you, John, is you're actually on leave right now, paternity leave. And you're still investing time with us to talk about ACHE, which we'll get to in a few minutes. So really appreciate you. So I'm guessing the majority of, since it's been so long, I'm guessing a lot of the folks probably haven't listened to the episode. But I would like to hear something new about you. So last time we talked a little bit about your prison guard experience, which I love talking about. But since we did that last time, maybe something new, something, the fun fact, something surprising about you.
Got you. So healthcare was never kind of like my passion. I don't want to say fell into it, but some positions opened up and I ended up in healthcare and fell in love with it after. And now I don't see myself doing anything else. But side note, I own a party bus company in Vegas that rents party buses and nightclub tours and brings people to pool parties. And it was a really cool, like when I was like 23, 24, you know what I mean? Like, it's really cool, get to go places for free and go in, and obviously got married, had kids. I'm close to 40 now, so the idea that I'm doing that is kind of over. But we have a few staff who kind of run the office and kind of handle it, but it grew into a business all of a sudden. Like first I was making a car payment off it. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. It's not just fun, it's paying my car. And then it got to it's paying my mortgage now. And then it became like a real business and not just like a fun excuse to go out, call it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have a side business. We own 4 different party buses, run through Vegas, takes people on tours, anything from like nightclubs or Grand Canyon, the Hoover Dam, any weddings, quinceañeras, bar mitzvahs, you name it. Like I said, the buses rent to do it. So that's kind of my retirement plan right after healthcare. And
yeah.
Before my 401k and Social Security kicks in, I'm hoping the party buses sustain the family.
Well, that's awesome. So you've been doing the business for how long?
We've had it almost 15 years now.
Congrats, man. I mean, that means it's obviously thrived and succeeded. And what's funny is like that's a great plug. So well done. Now I know why you wanted to be on the podcast to plug
exactly, yeah. Find yourself in Vegas. Look me up.
Folks, that was not pre-planned, just so you know. But maybe by John, but not by me. So well done, man. Cool. So remind us, we're going to talk about the American College of Healthcare Executives. That's today's topic. But remind the audience, for those that don't know, what are you doing today as your kind of your day job?
My day job. So I'm the vice president of Ancillary Services at Martin Luther King Community Healthcare. That's my normal job. The party bus company, like I said, is it's fun and it's a side thing, but I don't have much in the day to day. My real job and kind of my full-time, all-consuming at times is MLK. We're a small community hospital, small in size, 131 beds. We're in South LA, an unincorporated area of LA City. It's like Compton, Watts, that area, the South Central service area. We are a replacement hospital for the old MLK that everybody's probably seen on the news or heard about, got shut down by CMS, substandard care. That's an office building behind us now. A nonprofit group was formed about 8 or 9 years ago. And it took them about 2 years, but they built a brand new hospital, not run by the county, kind of run by our standalone nonprofit. I've been there 5 years. We've grown it from just the hospital to now multiple clinics within our service area, surgery centers, medical office buildings, and kind of a whole population health team. With the goal of providing healthcare to what's considered one of the biggest healthcare deserts in the U.S. outside of like rural healthcare. But if anybody's ever been to that area of Los Angeles, the South Central area, there's not a lot of primary care physicians' offices, your CVS Minute clinics, those type of things that you find in more affluent, well-insured areas. You won't find that in the South Central neighborhood. So we, through various funding arrangements between state, government, federal, county, all that, we're able to provide healthcare to an underserved population that normally wouldn't, I shouldn't say normally, because it's not normal at all, but wouldn't have access and opportunity to some of the things that, depending on your personal feelings, but in my personal feelings, should probably be a basic standard of care for a citizen in the United States of America. You know, and we're in an insanely wealthy country, and the fact that some people just can't go to the doctor and get a Tylenol if they need it, or they get their broken arm fixed. We do stuff like that.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And I know when we first had Jan, we talked a little more detail. So folks, if you haven't heard that episode, it is a few years back. So I'm sure, John, you probably have some updates from then, but we won't have time today to talk about that. But folks, yeah, check out that other episode with John. Forgive me for not having the dates or the exact year, but MLK and John, if you go to our website, I'm sure you can find it. Okay, so John, let's talk about the American College of Healthcare Executives, or ACHE, which is an organization that candidly, I am not really familiar with, but in my day job, I was encouraged to check it out. I heard about it in the past for some folks. I see some letters, next to people's signatures with ACHE as part of that. American College of Healthcare Executives, can you give us a quick overview of what that is?
So it's a professional organization that encourages like networking, education, and opportunities for folks either striving to be healthcare executives or already as healthcare executives. It's something I, again, researched and found out I wasn't familiar with it either until I was all of a sudden in a management role in healthcare. And I landed in my first management role in healthcare due to some medical leaves by other people and some consolidation and layoffs and such. So I ended up over like a large span of control for employees and departments that, like, to be frank, I really wasn't sure how they worked. But I figured, like, I was younger, I had some time, I was motivated, but I wanted to figure out, like, somebody has done this job before I did, right? So why reinvent the wheel? Like, there's someone out there who knows how to do this. I just need to find that person. And through LinkedIn was a great resource for me. I'm super active on LinkedIn. I think it's, if you're a professional or looking to grow any sort of professional network, I think it's imperative that you're on there. But I found the American College of Healthcare Executives. And at first I looked at it and I'm looking at the pictures and the members of it, and everybody is, I don't want to down it, but like my grandparents' age, right? And these are seasoned healthcare, but they've been CEOs of hospitals for 30 years. At the time I was like 32 years old. Like, I was like, this guy's been over this health system longer than I've been alive in some cases. But I found it like in a wildly welcoming group. I looked up my local chapter. So American College of Healthcare Executives is the national chapter, headquartered out of Chicago. And then each like section of the country has their own independent chapters that essentially report up to headquarters. So here in LA, you have ACHE SoCal, which encompasses basically Santa Barbara to San Diego and out to like IE Riverside in that area. San Diego has their own independent chapter, and then Northern California, you get like above Santa Barbara and up, they have a Northern California chapter. And then you have like states that aren't as populated will have one for the state, right? Like Nevada has the Nevada ACHE chapter. So I got involved with my local chapter, and it's a totally volunteer organization. There's no payment for it, there's no nothing. So of course they're always excited, or should say they, it's me now. We are always excited for volunteers and folks who are looking to just get involved. Spent my first couple years basically just being quiet in the background, right? Like I just watching. And some of these people were in positions I wanted to be in or strive to be in, or they were leading the way I wanted to lead. So followed their lead. A couple years in, I ended up running for the board. I became the treasurer, oversaw sponsorship committee, a few other different little committees throughout the organization. And one of the biggest perks, or I shouldn't say perks, but one of the biggest benefits to being an ACHE is the ability to get your FASHE designation. Those are the letters people see. So it's the Fellow of the American College of Healthcare Executives, FACHE. It is a test that encompasses, it's a multi-hour test, but you have to be in the organization for a few years. There is a volunteer requirement, there's an educational requirement, you're required to have a graduate degree. There's a whole bunch of kind of steps before you can even sit and take that test. But I found that if you want to be taken serious as a healthcare executive or taken serious as somebody who is dedicated to that profession and either wanting to move up or better the organization, then you need to get those credentials. So it took a couple years, about 2 years, because you have to have a membership requirement. But I ended up getting the designation, passing the test, and successful. It's something I'll never let go. I'll keep your continuing education up every couple of years. But that was kind of like the main benefits to joining ACHE, the networking, the people who anytime I have a question, I now have like I want to say Rolodex, like that's a real thing anymore, but like a digital Rolodex in my phone where I can just scroll through and like, oh, I know the guy at Scripps. He can tell me how to do this. Or the lady over at Children's Hospital Orange County, she did this last year. So let me look into that. We're not all geniuses, and why reinvent something when someone's already perfected it, tested it, and run through it.
Yeah, well said, and great background and telling your personal journey. I like that the fact that you mentioned you're 32 and you kind of you were candid about the situation and your first perception of the organization. So ACHE members who are out there, don't be offended. I'm sure they're not, because they probably know you and are probably laughing. But that's great. And I was at my first ACHE event last month. I was encouraged to attend, and I did see a lot of young folks there. It was a great mixture of students even, right? I think there was a group from University of Southern California that was there, probably other schools as well. And so you saw young, old, everything in between. And I felt very welcomed as well. I've been to many different conferences, both as attendee and exhibitor at different places in my day job. And the amount of people that came by and greeted me, especially these folks, and you may have felt this way, John, but I'm 42, so you were 32, so that's a while back. I'm a little bit older than you. But even at my age, sometimes I'm like, wow, look at these important people, C-level of these big hospital systems. And they're just like us, right? Like they're super kind, and they're just like us. So yeah. It was really cool. I felt very welcomed. I told my boss in my day job, I'm like, hey, this was great. Like, let's do this again. So I know there's an event coming up for the SoCal chapter. There's some new leadership folks. I don't think you'll make it because you're taking care of your newborn. Yeah.
My daughter's 14 days old, the newest one. So I don't think my wife would be thrilled with me going to a networking event this early.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And by the time this episode comes out, folks, this event will have already happened. But I'll be attending I don't know anybody really there. with a few folks just through my 20 years in healthcare. But yeah, just to meet, see what's going on. It's being held by Scan Health Plan or hosted by Scan Health Plan in Long Beach.
We're going to do something like kind of regionalized. That is a benefit and a downside to Los Angeles, right? It's a benefit that we have a huge pool to draw from, and there's a ton of healthcare executives and a great variety of folks. But the concept that we're going to have something in Long Beach and all the Santa Barbara people are coming down for the evening is not a real thing. You know what I mean? And the same with when we have something out at Arrowhead out deep in San Bernardino, we're probably not getting the downtown LA folks out there. So we try and rotate our events around kind of, I don't want to say the county, 'cause we're bigger than the county, but the general service area for our chapter. And Long Beach always ends up being like a pretty decent neutral spot. You know, you're not going to make everyone happy, but you get pretty close. Long Beach has a lot of 2 healthcare offices down there. Melina's offices, Scan Health Plan. A lot of folks who are willing to either donate or at a wildly reduced rate give us some space and space to hold a meeting. But like you said, you meet everyone there, and it's very informal. Like you said, there usually comes with a drink ticket or two, so you have a beer and get to know the folks that they maybe run the hospital next to you that you've never met.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate the heads up. And again, folks, this event will have already happened. It's happening January 20th, and this podcast will be coming out shortly after that. But that's an example of an event that's open to everybody, you know, rubbing shoulders with folks that you look up to or folks that you can mentor even as well. I mentioned the USC students, and I hate to say it, but I mean, I'm now at an age where like their fathers may be of a similar age. And I was able to give them guidance. Like some of them came up and said, hey, like home care, what's home care? You know, because students getting into healthcare, they probably think the big hospitals, right? But
no, there's one track. You're either going to work at a hospital or nothing else. And then you start experiencing, I don't want to say experiencing the world, but getting out in the world a little bit, and you're 100% right. You realize there's home care, there's hospice, there's skilled nursing. I was in healthcare by 5 or 6 years before I even took over anything ambulatory and outside of the healthcare walls. And now the majority of my day-to-day management is building our clinic practices and our surgery centers, our outside stuff that's not just within the 4 walls of the hospital. And I think that was another a big plus for ACHE for me, right? Meeting people who had already built these things or done these things before, where I came from an acute care hospital. My first hospital was Huntington Hospital in Pasadena, which has every service line under the sun. They're a monster organization, and if you were a hospital guy, you didn't leave the hospital. If you were an outpatient person, you didn't leave the outpatient center. And now working for a smaller organization, you kind of got to wear every hat. So ACHE was great for kind of honing in on those, like exactly what you're talking about, those outside of the hospital services that all ties into healthcare.
Awesome. Cool. So you mentioned it's helped you. So when you were 32, you mentioned your background, you've done some work at Huntington. When you were at 32, were you at Huntington at the time, or?
I was leaving Huntington. I was 32. I was leaving Huntington. I had just been offered the position at MLK. MLK had only been open about a year, so it's a brand new hospital. They were transitioning away from the build team, essentially. There are a lot of folks brought on, with the exception of the CEO and a couple other key like foundation folks. The folks who opened the hospital were never going to be the people who ran the hospital. So they were an opening team, got through Joint Commission, got the hospital accredited, opened the door, started seeing patients. And then at that point, it was time to bring in kind of the operator team that was going to build the programs, the day-to-day standard. When I started there, I was only over like lab, security, let's see, what else? EVS, patient transport, some very basic hospital services. But as the CNO hired me, told me as the hospital grows, like expect every couple months we're going to come to you and be like, okay, it's now this service line, build that. The beauty of MLK too is because of like our funding situation, we're able to expand and build out service lines when we don't have a place to transfer patients. We do run into issues because of our patients' either inability to pay or the insurance that they currently have. They're unable to go for some sort of specialty care, or the referral system isn't there. Or sometimes the referral system is, too far, and the patients either don't get paid vacation or sick time, but they don't have adequate transportation to get to and from those places. So MLK, we build out those service lines and then run them ourselves. You don't have to worry about transferring anybody when you can do the service in the basement. It came in, put out some CT scanners, nuclear medicine, endo procedures, GI, that kind of stuff that we used to, sometimes patients would sit for a while waiting for a transfer. And now we schedule the case and we do it down in our new endo suites downstairs. So that is where MLK has really grown. I've grown with it. The organization has grown. And like I said, things like ACHE and those organizations have been key to kind of guiding me when they said, hey, we're going to open up endoscopy suites. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
sounds like a plan. So now I need to go figure out, meet somebody who's run these, who built them, who's equipped them, staffed them, and go from there.
That's awesome, John. So, I mean, this is something you'll share with your grandkids. I mean, what you're building, this awesome.
It's cool. Yeah, it's really cool to like see. You're gonna see like a space, right? Just a blank shell space with just 4 concrete walls and nothing else. And then here we are, 18 months later, and now it's a fully functioning room with the right equipment, right? And then 3 months later, now we've hired staff, and you're seeing them buzzing around there, getting things ready. And now 3 months after that, now they're seeing patients, and you're actually changing and improving things, right? So you go from literally like a wall that looks like an old East Coast basement, right? 4 concrete walls and nothing else in there. And now in less than 2 years, you're seeing patients and you're doing procedures that wouldn't have got done without that.
Yeah, man, it's meaningful work, purposeful work, really, really cool. I'm sure the party bus has a purpose as well, but I think maybe the MLK might be, a little more emotional connection there.
Also, too, I mean, it's kept me interested on a personal level too, right? Like up until MLK, I had a job every 4 years, and not like anything negative, but I would get jobs would get stale for me. Like, it was the same thing. I was too young to do something over and over. So every couple of years, I'd be switching and changing. And I get calls and offers now or discussions from other organizations, but MLK, it's every 6 months, it's like I have a whole new job, right? Like you're building something new, you're starting something new. And then once that's done and complete, then you essentially hire on the management team for that. And they essentially take it and go. And then you're on to the next one. So it's almost like a whole new job every 6 months, which has been wildly fulfilling for me.
That is awesome. And I know we talked before the episode as well, how they also treat you well and your family well. So I'm sure that's motivating for you to give 100% and take on these new projects, which can be pretty scary, I bet, at times.
Yeah. Especially like when it starts getting like very clinical. I mean, like I said, I have a criminal justice degree. Like the concept that I even understand what nuclear medicine is not a thing. Like I have to store isotopes. I didn't like I wouldn't even like you're speaking Chinese to me. You know what I mean? Like but you're learning things, and you have the space to go and reach out to organizations, professional organizations, or network organizations to meet the people who've done that.
Awesome. So there's the national organization, which I believe the website, I don't have it handy. I should.
ACHE.org. Yeah. American College Healthcare. It's ACHE.org.
Thanks. I was doing some research right before the podcast, and I didn't write it down what I was looking at. So thank you for helping me out there. And then if folks want to get plugged into ACHE SoCal, let's just say they're here in Southern California, and they want to get plugged into the chapter or learn more. Does the local chapter also have a website, or would they go to the main site and then navigate from there?
So you can do either. The main site will have you type in your zip code, and then it will bring you to your local chapter. Or it's super easy here. It's ACHE of SoCal. So ACHE of SoCal will bring you right to our specific website for our local chapter. You can always reach out to me too. I'm still very involved with them. I'm not on the board anymore. I'm we have to have an audit and finance committee outside, an independent person outside. So that's my role this year. But I'd be happy to get anybody plugged in or involved. Like you said, we have a lot of students. We've transitioned to like a younger generation that they're hungry for some of their first like paying jobs. They're doing a lot of internships and fellowships. But in getting involved with that, they're meeting the people who would potentially hire them. So we have obviously our stuff is not free. It's pretty cheap though. It's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that expensive to go. But we have a bunch of sponsorships. You were one of them, so thank you. Those sponsorships allow us to offer these things at no cost or very little cost to students and early careerists. So even if you're intimidated that maybe you don't have the funds right now or your organization doesn't have the money to support it, reach out to me. I can definitely plug you in with a couple passes to come check out some of our events and get involved. And then the easiest way too, like get on one of the committees and essentially earn your pass, right? Like if you jump on the sponsorship committee and start doing some emails or help us with LinkedIn or cold calls or something like that, our planning and our organizational committees, like you get a free pass to what you're going to. So you know what I mean? You can always, like you said, not having the funds for it to me is always never a good excuse, right? There's always someone out there willing to sponsor you or bring you as a plus one.
Oh, nice little plug there, especially the guy. Are you still on the sponsorship committee or no? Just the finance?
Yeah, no. So this audit committee, you have to be uninvolved in everything. Make sure that we're spending the money justly.
Got it. Well, I know there's probably some, like you said, John, there's some, you can use the help. I did not get a call from a student. My day job's boss told me about ACHE. That's how I came across. And I think I saw you on an email actually, this is last year, 2022. So yeah, encourage you guys to check it out. And I apologize on today's episode. You guys might have heard a couple of rings. I shut everything down. I never get calls on my company like work line. It's rare. People usually call my cell, and that's what those noises were. But since we were talking at the same time, I'm not going to edit it out. So I do apologize, everybody, for that. And I apologize to you, John. Thank you very much.
I think my house phone rang. Yeah, I have a house phone here. Like it's 1985 in my house.
I'm with you, man. I got one of those. Cool. If people want to get in touch with you offered, is LinkedIn the best way to connect with you, John, or what?
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best way. I mean, I'll respond to everybody same day. It goes to my phone. It's an app, obviously, but I'll respond same day to any requests they got out there. So request me, add me as a connection, or you can message through there, and then if there's something specific anybody wants to talk about, plenty of people hit me up and looking for advice on something, or they saw a job posted in my organization. They want some more information. I'd be happy to set up 5 minutes and get a call with you. Like I said, I think there are a lot of people who went out of their way to do something for me for free and at no cost that has helped me to where I am. So I kind of feel it's one of those things that I owe back to. There's going to be a new me, right? There's going to be somebody behind me who takes my job or moving up that I owe to them to at least have that phone call or that conversation with them.
Oh, awesome, man. And I think on that note, I think that's how I first started communicating with you was LinkedIn for the podcast. So awesome, man. Well, hey, really appreciate you again joining the show and being willing, especially on this time of your life with your newborn, 4 kids and the missus. You're a busy man.
I'm trying. It's just me and the dog, the only boys in the house.
Nice, man. Well, hey, John, appreciate you joining the show. Have a good one.
Of course, you too. See you later.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Pop Health Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and if you have and want to check out other episodes, visit us at pophealthpodcast.com, iTunes or Apple Music, Spotify, Stitcher, and now YouTube as well. Take care.